interest? Oh, we have to do roll call first. Oh, see? Thanks, Sarah. All right, so with roll call, do you want to just explain how we do that, Sarah?
Sure. So it's going to be done through our new system. I'm going to start the vote, hit yes if you're present, and then we're just, there's a few visiting counselors, so we'll do the committee first.
Excellent. Oh, I have to, there we go. Thank you. I think I did. Okay.
It's a timer.
The timer, okay.
Yeah. So then we also have present in chambers, Councillor Garrett, and virtual Councillor Dyes, Councillor Jubb, Councillor Schumer, and Councillor Foster.
Excellent. So welcome everyone. I'm looking forward to this this term on Works and very pleased to be your chair. So now, are there any disclosures of interest? Seeing and hearing none. Let's jump right into item 3, and this is the election of the Works Committee chair or vice chair. So, folks, I've heard that 3 different people may want this. So let's go for a call for nominations.
We'll need a mover and a seconder for each nomination.
Okay, so Brian? Okay. Is there a seconder? Second by Councillor Yamada. And then are there any other nominations? No problem.
What? Oh, okay.
We'll get used to the tech. It's going to be okay.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Mulcahy.
Okay.
Did I say that right? No, not likely right.
Is there a seconder for Councillor Mulcahy? Mulcahy? I did it wrong. Okay, thanks, Rhonda. Okay, seconded by Councillor Cook. Are there any other nominations? I was expecting one more, but don't see another one. All right.
Okay, so I will do a roll call vote when your name is called.
Oh, can I get a motion? Can I get a motion to close nominations? Moved by Councillor Nicholson, seconded by Councillor Yamada. All in favor? That's carried.
Okay, now when I call your name, please choose either Councillor Marian Pietri or Councillor Mulcahy. Councillor Cook.
Councillor Mulcahy.
Councillor Crawford.
Councillor Mayor Pietri.
Regional Chair Henry.
Sorry, Councillor Mayor Pietri.
Councillor Marian Pietri.
Marian Pietri.
Councillor Mulcahy.
Mulcahy.
Councillor Nicholson.
Marian Pietri.
Councillor Yamada.
Councillor Mayor Pietri.
And Chair Barton.
Councillor Mulcahy.
Marian Pietri.
Yep. All right. Congratulations to Councillor Marian Pietri. Tito, thanks for being part of the team. Appreciate it. Oh yeah, he voted for himself, so I'm guessing you wish to stand as vice chair. No problem. Thank you very much. All right. Next we have. Okay, we're at adoption of minutes. This is 4.1 from the Works Committee on September 7th, 2022. So moved. Seconded by Councillor Yamada. All in favor? That's carried. Then we have no statutory public meetings. There are no delegations, but we do have 2 presentations. So we'll first go to 7.1, and this is from the Commissioner of Works and the Works Directors team.
Thank you very much. Through the chair, first presentation is we're going to provide an overview of the Works Department, and joining me is the directors of each service branch within the Works Department. One of the directors is unable to be here today as he's recovering from a procedure. Brad Dobson, Acting Director of Environmental Services. So let's go to the first slide. The Works Department, our purpose statement is to provide infrastructure for our residents in a reliable manner and to support healthy and sustainable communities. Next slide. The services that we provide are drinking water treatment, distribution, sanitary sewage treatment and collection, waste management services, and corporate regional facilities management. Next slide. As mentioned, there are 4 directors within the Works Department. Brad Dobson is Acting Director of Environmental Services, Drinking Water and Sanitary Sewerage. Ramesh Jagannathan, Director of Transportation and Field Services. Gio Anello, Director of Waste Management, and Jenny DeManuel, Director of Corporate Infrastructure and Strategic Business Services. Next slide. I'll do Brad's part. Environmental Services, as I mentioned, its purpose is to provide safe, reliable municipal drinking water and also protect the water environment through the treatment of sanitary sewage. Next slide. Environmental Services, we planned many capital projects, design, operate a very large system that supports all 8 local municipalities, operate the water supply plants, water pollution control plants, and a regional environmental lab. It also, we are involved in compliance reporting to ensure that all provincial and federal legislation is maintained. We have a sewer use bylaw enforcement team and a source water protection team for monitoring. The sewer use bylaw team looks after the sanitary sewage collection system monitoring and also sets up agreements with industries to ensure that the sewer use bylaw is met based on their discharges into the system. Source water protection team is one of the barriers to ensure that the first main barrier in terms of ensuring that there's a safe drinking water source for our systems. And we also look at, obviously, capacity utilization so that we can manage growth and phase in expansions where required. Next slide. The one division starting off, engineering, planning, and studies, Aaron Christie. He starts the ball rolling in terms of looking at overall development growth, is involved in long-term master planning, groundwater studies, and development charges. Next slide. Mike Hubble is Manager of Environmental Design Services, looks after the capital program in terms of preliminary designs, detailed designs, and project management of major capital projects. Next slide. Rich Tyndall is Manager of Plant Operations, a very large team with 25 systems throughout Durham, plants, water storage facilities, pumping stations, and the region's supervisory control and data acquisition system, which we refer to as SCADA. Next slide. In the technical support division, there was a retirement late last year, and currently there are 2, they're taking turns in terms of being the acting manager, Tavis Nemo and Joseph Green. This division looks after data collection, reporting, sewer use bylaw, backflow prevention involves the drinking water system, and source water protection, the operation of the regional lab, and energy management. Next slide. And the last division within the group, the branch here, is Ian McElwam. He's manager of compliance, make sure that we're meeting all compliance with the regulators. We deal mostly with the Ministry of Environment, Conservation, and Parks, also federal bodies. He also looks after ensuring that we maintain our drinking water quality management system, and we also are registered under ISO for the environmental management system of our facility, our wastewater facilities. And it's taken also a role in emergency management, and in particular, during the pandemic, Ian played a key role on the corporate team to keep things going. Next two slides you probably saw during the next slide during new council orientation. Just looking forward at some of the items we have to deal with. One is the future of the private communal well in North Oshawa for Sun Valley Home Builders, looking at impacts related to the recent provincial decision on Upper York, implementing recommendations from the integrated resource recovery studies for our water pollution control plants in order to use energy more efficiently within those plants. We're also in the middle of or initiated a greenhouse gas emissions management strategy for our water plants and sanitary sewerage facilities. And the last point, obviously, we're busy planning for projected new development, and that is very applicable right now with the recent provincial announcements with Bill 23 and our new municipal comprehensive review. So next slide, I believe, is Transportation and Field Services. I will call Ramesh to come up.
Thank you, John. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm glad to give you an overview of the branch that I'm in. My name is again Ramesh Jagannathan, Director of Transportation and Field Services. Our goal and mission is to provide a safe, integrated, multimodal regional transportation network. In addition, the branch is also responsible for maintaining underground linear infrastructure that includes water mains, sanitary sewers, they're both roughly about over 2,500 kilometers, and also primary traffic assets, which includes over 600 traffic signals to ensure reliable services. Next, please. So at a high level, we do the capital planning and forecasting for the regional network. Most of you would be familiar with the 10-year forecast that tell you where the regional road projects are on the horizon. We plan, design, construct, operate, and manage all the assets. That includes about 2,000 lane kilometers in the traffic assets, bridges, bus rapid transit, active transportation, such as multi-use paths. The branch also constructs, operates, and maintains the region's linear system, including water, sanitary, and storm infrastructure. We construct water supply and pollution control plants, and we also maintain all the fleet that makes these things happen. Next, please. The branch operates out of 6 divisions. The first one I'm talking about is Mr. Paul G., who's the Manager of Transportation Infrastructure. The division is responsible for capital planning, designing and tendering contract documents for bridge rehabs and replacements, asset management, leading transportation studies such as the Transportation Master Plan and DC bylaw for roads. They comment on Planning Act applications to assess network impacts. They're also responsible for corridor control and right-of-way management, including posting bridge weight limits when recommended by a certified engineer. Next, please. Next one is Reid McGregor. He manages the Transportation Design Division. He conducts Class EAs for all road projects, also designs and contract documents, produces contract documents for road construction that includes widenings, realignments, intersection modifications, etc. The division also represents the branch on projects that are initiated externally, such as by the province and Metrolinx. Next, please. The next division, once the design is completed, it gets handed over to construction management. Dan Wachter is the manager. He delivers linear construction projects with a large team related to roads, bridges, water, and sanitary sewers. They also do the surveying in-house. They do construction material testing for quality assurance. They do plant and pumping station construction and does capital forecasting for linear and plant projects, including minor rehabs. Next, please. Steve Kemp operates the traffic network. They design, construct, and maintain, like I said, over 600 signals and warning devices. They administer the Vision Zero program. They do transit signal priority, for BRT and emergency vehicles. They do a lot of traffic impact studies, operational reviews. They oversee the traffic management center. And they also do underground locates for traffic infrastructure. This division works out of 101 Consumers Road. Next, please. The last division is basically which maintains our road network, and Eric Lemaine is the manager, of maintenance and fleet operations. This division, along with the traffic field services, works 24/7 through standby shifts on weeknights and weekends. They take care of the roads, sanitary and regional storm sewers. They also maintain fleet. They make sure all our drivers, our equipment operators are tested and trained and licensed. Water meter testing and repairs falls under Eric Lemaine as well. And they also do underground locates for water and sanitary infrastructure. Next, please. This is a special project office, Rapid Transit and Active Transportation Implement, Mr. David Dunn. This was established a few years ago to advance primarily Highway 2 Rapid Transit and, in the near future, hopefully on other corridors. They work closely with the Transit-Oriented Development Office, Durham Region Transit, to advance our BRT aspirations. The division has recently been provided the assigned responsibility also to deliver active transportation infrastructure in partnership with the planning department to advance the regional cycling plan. Next, please. So looking forward, roughly in this term of council, you can anticipate seeing much more expansion with advanced technologies and countermeasures to relieve traffic congestion and advance our Vision Zero objectives. Certainly, you would see Highway 2 Bus Rapid Transit being advanced. Bowmanville Go Extension, it's led by our planning department and the Transit-Oriented Development Office, but as you can appreciate, there's a lot of structural modifications that would happen to regional roads, so we are working closely with the planning department and Metrolinx and other stakeholders. Road rationalization is certainly been on the agenda. Hopefully that can be advanced. Transportation master plan would need to be updated. The last one is getting a little stale. It's about 5-6 years old. The DC bylaw updates have to happen, obviously, in the context of Bill 23. We certainly need to, we've improved our compliance, our underground locates for regional infrastructure. We certainly need to maintain it. And there's some big major capital projects happening, such as the Whites Road Bridge in Seaton, the Bloor realignment, of course, Bus Rapid Transit on Highway 2. Last year, or I think it's earlier this year, we introduced the Enterprise Maintenance Management System, EMMS, which is now giving us a lot of rich data to allow a very proactive and cost-effective planning of our work orders. So that's something we are hoping to leverage in the next while. Certainly, excess soil management regulations are kicking in an incremental manner. So we are trying to strengthen our contracts to make sure any excess soil is either contained on site or transported to the right location based on the composition. Next, please. Then I'll turn it over to Mr. Joseph Ainello.
Good morning. So I'm the Director of Waste Management Services, and our main purpose is to take care of the waste that is generated, and our function is to try to get that waste up that hierarchy. So we're trying to avoid disposal and look at waste as a resource. We are responsible for the collection, processing, and the management of solid waste, including organics and the blue box material. In the organics is the leaf and yard waste, which was quite problematic this year. our post-pandemic world has come up and bit us. So waste management services. We collect, process. Most of this is done, that first line is done by third-party contractors. Whitby and Oshawa still collect their own garbage and their organics. Everything else is done by contract. We oversee and own the Durham York Energy Center, and that is our preferred disposal option. We do send some of our waste to landfills when we are out of capacity at the Durham York Energy Center. Now, our closest landfill is about 2 hours away, either in Thorold or Twin Creeks outside of Sarnia. So from a climate change perspective, not a good thing to send to landfill. We also manage 7 closed landfills. They continue to generate greenhouse gas, and that is one of our projects as we look forward. We have 3 waste management facilities, Brock, Scugog, and Oshawa. They're always quite busy, and we were able to keep those facilities open throughout the pandemic. And we run an outreach program and education program. We work with the schools and we work with community resources to get the message out. Next slide, please. So we're organized in 2 different sections. This charming fellow here is Andrew Evans. He is responsible for the technical services, which includes the long-term waste management plan. He's also responsible for policy and education. And Andrew is basically a hobby farmer, so he is very close to the earth. Next slide, please. The other section is operations, and that is headed by Peter Vega. He's probably over 30 years of experience in the waste industry. He's responsible for the collection, basically all the contract services, collection, blue box, organics, and the waste management facilities, and also the MRF. And he has the bylaw officers. So he has 4 bylaw officers that work for him. Peter is one of those motorcycle and car kind of guys. So he gets around. Next slide, please. So what do we have looking forward? So we just implemented the long-term waste management plan. And the main focus of that long-term waste management plan is to try to treat garbage as a resource. See what we can get out of it before it has to go to disposal. We are coming into a period of big changes. In 2024, the producers will take over responsibility for the blue box collection and processing. That should save the region some funds. We're not quite sure how much yet and how much responsibility they will take, but it is happening. It actually occurs next year. The first is the City of Toronto, and then we are scheduled for 2024. Our organics contract is coming to an end in 2024. We were trying to build our own anaerobic digestion facility. Again, another victim of COVID and post-COVID. So we are going to be coming forward to you in the very near future with an information report on our intended interim solution and the long-term solution. You should know that the Durham York Energy Center is already beyond its capacity. We are trying to get that capacity extended with the existing infrastructure. That is a bit of a struggle. And we are trying to divert as much waste as we can from the Durham York Energy Center. Remember, we are number one in climate change gas generation for the corporate. Our greenhouses are basically our landfills, and the Durham York Energy Center are very large contributors. But we have some ongoing projects to address that. Next slide, please. And I will turn it over to Jenny. Jenny?
Thank you, Gio. So my name is Jenny DeManuel, and I'm the Director of Corporate Infrastructure and Strategic Business Services. That's a really long name. You have to take a breath after it. But my branch is responsible for many activities, most of them occurring behind the scenes that make sure that all regional programs and services can be delivered every day, and ensuring that projects can advance and that development moves forward in the region. Next slide, please. So my branch is comprised of 4 sections: development approvals, financial services and corporate real estate, facilities design, construction and asset management, or DCAM as we refer to them, another long name, and facilities maintenance and operations, which we refer to as FMO. Next slide, please. So my branch, like I said, provides a lot of services. I'm probably going to miss something. I hope I don't offend any of my staff if I miss something that was very important to them, but we are a very wide variety of services that we provide. So Paul Gillespie, he's our Manager of Development Approvals. He has a team of 16 staff that process over 1,000 planning applications, submissions, resulting in over 500 subsequent engineering submissions every year. They process over 75 subdivision application and servicing agreements containing over $50 million worth of infrastructure that the region will ultimately own. And development approval staff represent the Works Department in many multi-departmental studies as generalists in works-wide issues. And examples of that would include the Municipal Comprehensive Review, Development Charge Background Study, front-ending agreements, secondary plans, climate change initiatives, and the list goes on. Next slide, please. Christine Dunkley is the Manager of Financial Services and Corporate Real Estate. Christine has a team of 12 real estate professionals that include appraisers, lease professionals, and real estate clerks. And her team is responsible for securing all of the real estate needs in the region of Durham. And these are often cornerstone land acquisitions to advance capital projects. So it's a very important function that they're providing. In addition, they do support Durham Region Local Housing Corporation and Durham Region Police Services. So we manage all the leases for property, excluding leases for Durham Region Local Housing Corporation that are for tenants. But all the other leases are managed by this group. And they also coordinate lease and license agreements for cellular towers on regional infrastructure. And Christine also has a team of 9 financial professionals. Oh, I lost my place here, sorry. 9 financial professionals who provide centralized support to the entire Works Department, including general accounting, purchasing support, budgeting services, billing for work and accident recoveries, and procurement coordination. Right now, Christine's team is working on land acquisitions for large corridor projects like the Gib Olive Extension and the BRT project. They are also securing a lot of property requirements for several other road and infrastructure projects. The lease management and rationalization work is currently underway to validate our investments in lease property and look for opportunities to consolidate. And our team is currently working on the 2023 Works Department property tax and waste budget, so they're very busy pulling that together as well. Next slide, please. So Dave Nagy, he is the Manager of Facilities Design, Construction, and Asset Management. He has a team of 41 staff comprised of architects, engineers, technicians, and support staff. And they deliver all capital facility construction projects for the region from the cradle to the grave, excluding water and sanitary sewer infrastructure. They also support Durham Region Local Housing Corporation and Durham Region Police Services. They're also responsible for all facility sustainability planning, including developing the facility low carbon pathway. They're responsible for all asset management for facilities and state of good repair planning and master accommodation planning. And this group has an extensive list of projects in progress or in planning that touch nearly every regional DRPS or Durham Regional Local Housing facility. And some of the higher profile projects that Dave's team is delivering right now is the Durham Region Police Services Clarington Police Complex Phase 2, another really long name, in Clarington, the new DRT bus facility in North Oshawa, the Seton Paramedic Station in Pickering, the deep energy retrofits for 4 seniors buildings in Durham Regional Local Housing, and 101 Consumers, and the Beaverton Supportive Housing Project. They're also leading workplace modernization at regional headquarters, the Durham Regional Local Housing redevelopment, and the Ritson redevelopment. And the Seton Long-Term Care Facility implementation and the Paramedic Master Plan are in the planning stages. Next slide, please. Robert Adams is the Manager of Facilities Maintenance and Operations. He has a team of 69 staff, comprised of engineers, technicians, security specialists, contract managers, and skilled trades such as plumbers, electricians, and HVAC technicians. I often refer to this team as the ninjas because they come in and they are out and they've solved the problem before you ever knew there was a problem. And they're working hard every day behind the scenes to make sure our facilities are safe, clean, and ready for service delivery. They're also a key part of our GHG reduction strategy and do a lot of work for promoting energy efficiency in our facilities. And Robert's team really stepped into the spotlight over the last 2 years as they were responsible for delivering and setting up and supporting all of the COVID-19 vaccination clinics across the region. They also implemented some custodial protocols to keep all of our buildings safe while we were still open and staff were inside working. And they're just in the final stages now of setting up some shelter space in the town of Ajax. Next slide, please. So over this term of council, we're going to face a lot of challenges. Of course, our projects are seeing unprecedented inflation and supply chain challenges, and this not only impacts work in progress, but our forecasts as well. We have several large projects in the planning stages, as I mentioned, and the Durham Regional Local Housing Corporation will be something a bit different for us. That redevelopment, it will have a high level of public engagement involved with it, so we're really excited about delivering that one. And this team will also be working on the depot modernization and rationalization project. We did a study a few years ago to verify the location of our works department depots to determine whether they were in the right locations, delivering the right services and the right size as the region grows. And out of that study, it was recommended that we relocate a couple of depots and expand the balance of them. And Paul's team will be working hard on the implementation of Seton Phase 2, which will have definitely a lot of negotiations and agreements involved with that. And as I mentioned, Christine's team involved in the land acquisitions. We've all seen what's happened with the property prices lately, and we're finding that as we're acquiring property, we're negotiating more with lawyers rather than property owners, which adds a bit of time and complexity and cost to our land acquisitions. And now I'll pass this back to John, and he'll give some closing remarks.
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you to the team. Ramesh, Gio, just provided our contact information. We're easy generally to get along, so don't be shy to contact us. I'm sure you will when a resident contacts you. And if there's any questions, we're open to questions.
Yes, so the first question is from our vice chair. Go ahead, Tia.
Thank you, Chair Barton. Just wanted to ask through you to the Commissioner. Bill 109 and 23 present a pretty significant risk to some of the capital projects. Unless I'm missing something, I just wanted to know what I believe there's a risk assessment team with respect to capital projects and works, and whether or not they've worked with finance yet to identify what the potential shortfalls or what the mechanism will be for us to be able to backfill some of the issues that we may incur because of the financing risk, and whether or not there is one, and what specifically that risk would be.
Thank you. Through the chair, thank you for the question. That is, as I mentioned, a hot topic for moving forward for 2023. We're in good shape. It's not impacting us. But moving forward, we're going to have to work with finance and review the implications. I believe there's a report coming to Committee of the Whole next week on Bill 23 and high-level impacts. Not sure if we have Commissioner Taylor in the room, if she wants to add a few words on that.
If I may, through the chair, thank you. So we were, and I mentioned this yesterday as you were at planning, thank you for the question there. We were in the process of updating our entire development charge background study for the growth that we had designated to us prior to Bill 23. So we were already very heavily into bringing that to council for March because of our expiry on June 30th. Now we are having to shift that and take a look at revamping what the cash flows will look like based on what we're seeing, and then that will affect the capital program. So we not only do we have a lot more capital projects potentially to add in, we're going to have less money perhaps. So all of that work will be underway. We do have an analysis through the CIO's report coming to committee of the whole on the revenue hit instant and longer term, but we haven't got the capital project implications dealt with yet, other than a high level suggestion that it could be deferral of a number of projects depending on how this plays out.
Okay, and I appreciate that through both commissioners, through chair, because the reason why I asked that at the previous committee as well as this committee, and then likely to all the committees and council, is because I think we're likely doing this at a high level, but we as council need to be aware of what projects we need to identify as being at risk, and essentially prepare them for whatever the province may consider to be the best financial mechanism to be able to fund them. Because I see the city of Toronto, it's a larger entity in terms of population, but I mean the function and their assessment is one that I'd like to see performed here. And I know that we're likely doing it at a high level, but in perpetuity, like how much money are we foregoing, or how many projects will be at risk, and for the tune of how much, so that then, for example, if there is a new funding envelope that's opened by the province, much like the federal government provided with gas tax revenues, maybe we're able to say, listen, we've got X projects that are shovel ready or deficient, and these are the ones that we would like to have funded based on the risk or on the deficiency of the bill's implications. I just think that sooner than later, that through you, Mr. Chair, is going to be very, very vital and maybe even crucial, because from what I read in all of the reports, the projects that have been put forward aren't for the proverbial fun and games. These are vital infrastructure projects, and if they fail, then there's a domino effect. And yesterday at Planning and Economic Development, they talked about pre-servicing and then the urbanization of areas, and the potential of the agritourism sector being advanced. Like, these are all great concepts in a 30-year window, but it may, through you, Mr. Chair, become a 40 or 50 or a window that's nil or null and void if we don't address the funding of the projects that will then get us to the point where we can have that economic outlook played. So I think the last question I'd like to ask, and it's to deal with, and my stance when it comes to clean water and the policies through you, Chair, specific to Sun Valley, but that being maybe a template. And I know we've discussed in the past where we have communal wells or issues across the region, maybe a handful that are left. Is there an opportunity through you, Chair, to see if the department can update its policy so that it's more realistic in providing the few outlying areas that are challenged with the potential of being inside of an urban area but still being on well water? Is that something that you're going to bring back as a report to our committee and council?
Through the chair, that's a good question. We were directed in September to address that and to come back in January.
Excellent.
So there will be a report on the January Works Committee agenda.
Okay. And I think just from the understanding of just how many projects, and I don't know if you'd term them, thank you, Commissioner, through you, Chair. Mr. Nagy, I believe, is dealing with anything from the renovation of this building to the construction of the facility that Transit, I believe, hopes to see operational by 2026, or is it commenced by 2026? One of the two numbers are one of the two factors are within that number that I just noted, but there seem to be a lot of projects under that one portfolio. Any of the issues that we're going to incur through Bill 23 or 109, will they cause any of those projects to be at risk?
Through the chair, at this moment, I can't answer the question.
Sure.
If they're funded through development charges, there'll be an impact. If they're not,
And the reason why I asked that through chair is to see, and I know at a high level that's already happening, but just so that we can understand going into the budget what sort of implications or decisions we have to make in order to facilitate the current projects that are ongoing, and whether or not there's going to be a shortfall and where that will come from, and whether we've identified another funding mechanism. That's just something that I want to make sure is on the table. So aside from that, I'm really glad to note that we're going to be moving in a direction that continues to prioritize infrastructure projects that will drive economic development. And that's what I see in some of the reports that I'm reading and hopefully continue to see. So through you, Chair, I appreciate the Commissioner and the Director's presentation and look forward to supporting our initiatives.
Thank you very much for the questions. Now, we did have Councillor Mulcahy on the speakers list. But you removed your name, so if you want to jump back in.
I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time to ask this question, but I'll just throw it out there. I was just wondering if we had an update on the Newtonville Road project, if there's been any progress made and where we're at with that. So if this is not the appropriate time, I'm happy to ask that later. But
through the chair, could you please clarify the question? I didn't quite.
This was the recycled materials on the road.
Yes,
pilot.
Regional Road 18 in Newcastle.
Sorry.
Yes, that project, we undertook an independent review from a consultant to double check the road base in terms of non-glass material. The consultant's report came out through his investigation that there wasn't any kind of problem, and we proceeded with, we shared the report with the MOE. They were fine with it, and we proceeded with paving. So that project is complete.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you very much for the presentation. It was really very helpful in this report to have actually photographs of all the directors and everybody involved in all of this, because it's a large portfolio underneath you, and it's very nice to have that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we've got Councillor Crawford. Go ahead, Marilyn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Mine is not so much a question, but a comment. Is that okay? I'm so happy yard waste is fixed. You have no idea. But I'm still licking my wounds from the spring. But I wanted to say a huge shout out to Miss Jenny. Jenny, I just kind of searched all the emails that I sent you from like May till June, and you were so patient and you answered every one of them. So thank you so much. I don't think I've ever said that. I don't know how that landed on your lap, but I'm sure you're very happy it's gone. So whatever we did, I just wanted to say your staff was amazing, and they were reactive and they were helpful, and I can't say enough about how they helped, especially my area, because I know we were impacted quite a bit from that. So just that comment. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take that back to staff.
Okay, thank you very much for the comment. I know staff appreciate that, and I echo your comments on our staff, especially Jenny. So for any sitting members of this committee, if you want to speak, you push your speak button, and then that automatically puts you on the speakers list. So we certainly want to hear from you, and I think we probably have one now. Councillor Nicholson, is he on our list yet? Oh, do you want to do it again?
Requests?
Oh, there we go.
We got it?
We got you now.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councillor Nicholson.
Yeah, I'm just an area that's of grave concern. I won't surprise Ramesh that I want to raise is the standard of maintenance on regional roads, especially in the urban communities. Is there any in-house review being done on those standards and how we can better improve what I would suggest respectfully is not a maintenance but a lack of a maintenance standard?
Ramesh?
Thank you for the question, Councillor. As a first step, I would suggest we wait for the January Works Committee, where we are planning to present the current service standards. Like, Eric Lemaine, who you saw on screen, is going to come and lay out. So we have a minimum maintenance standards, and depending on the road and the jurisdiction, we have a lot of partnerships with local municipalities where they do deliver maintenance services as well. And I would suggest let that be the starting point and see if there's an opportunity to. I believe the bottom line is we are meeting the current level of service standards, and if there is a desire among regional council through Works Committee to enhance them, that would be the right time.
Well, I do appreciate that. I think it has to be a priority. Councillor Rampage here talked about works projects enhancing economic development, but maintenance of regional roads and regional infrastructure also impact economic development and our tax base. And I know I've met with you and your staff previously, and I continue to. I hate to say this, in my constituency, the regional roads are embarrassing. We have bridges with asphalt patches rather than curbs. We have cracks in the middle of our roads. We have graffiti that's never cleaned. I appreciate going out with your staff in the fall, where we went out and looked at all the roads. But I would suggest respectfully that we do need to look at our service standards. We need to look at the amount of money we contribute towards maintenance. We cannot continue to have regional roads that are well looked after in newer and growth areas, but in the more traditional communities are falling apart. So we need to come up with a financial plan and a management plan to maintain those facilities, not just look after the new ones. So I just want to leave that card on the table for you. The second question I guess I wanted to put here is you're going to be doing some of the work on the social housing redevelopment. Will we be getting a report on the scheduling of some of that projects, or is that going to come through Health and Social Services?
I'm happy to answer that question. So through you, Mr. Chair, we will be reporting early in the new year on the strategy for approaching our social housing revitalization. And the first phase is very extensive community engagement, so you will be hearing more in the first quarter of next year.
Will that be at this committee or at Health and Services or at Committee of the Whole?
I suspect it will be Committee of the Whole.
The reason I asked that is 5 out of the 6 projects identified are in my constituency, and everyone's interested in seeing just when they're going to be forced to move and when the projects are being brought forward.
Yes, obviously it's a long-term project, but the reason that the focus is on community engagement is to ensure that the residents are fully engaged and able to give us their feedback in terms of what they're looking for in a revitalized community.
Okay. And lastly, will we be getting a report on the Ritson School redevelopment project? Because that's been ongoing for almost a year now.
I'm going to look to Jenny. That's one of her projects, and she can update you on that. Thanks.
So we're just in the process of finalizing the RFP for engagement for that project as well. So that will be the kickoff for the work. And once we have the feedback from the community about what services they're hoping to see come out of the school building itself, and then some feedback on the development of the site, we'll be coming back with the results of that consultation.
And will that be at this committee, or will it be again at Committee of the Whole, or?
I imagine it will be at Committee of the Whole.
Committee of the Whole. Thank you very much. Those are my questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Are there any additional people who want to speak from the committee? Councillor Yamada, go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. I'm interested to know, when we talk about contracting out and garbage pickup, do you find that there are large savings within that? Because I think the comment was, or that Whitby is sort of the only one that still does its own garbage. So I'm interested to know, in terms of the scale of savings from contracting out versus doing it yourself.
Well, as mentioned by Director Nello, that the region contracts out 6 out of the 8 municipalities, and Whitby and Oshawa have decided to continue on collecting on their own. I don't have the details in terms of the comparison.
We did undertake that analysis I think 2 or 3 years ago, and we did present to Works on that. So we do have some information we can share. We can get that for you if you wish. All right.
Okay, if there's no additional questions from committee members, we'll put it out to non-committee members. And again, just hit your request to speak or your speaker button, and that also works virtually. Nope. Okay. All right. So thank you very much for the questions. Thank you very much to staff for the presentation. We are now on to 7.2. Again, we get to hear from Mr. Presta again, and go ahead, John.
Thank you. For the first Works Committee of the term, and in December is when we present our annual budget for water supply and sanitary sewerage, business plans and budgets for 2023. Let's see if this works. Okay, so we're going to, since it's a new term of council, I'm going to provide a little background on user rates, go through the regulatory requirements, water pricing, then present the proposed budget for 2023. Going to highlight some of the capital examples of the capital programs, finish it off with some risks, forecasted pressures, and looking forward. So user rates, water supply and sanitary sewerage are recovered through a user pay system. If you're connected or get service from water supply or sanitary sewerage system, you're charged based on water consumption at your property. Water supply and sanitary sewerage system costs are not recovered through property taxes, and the user rates are not based on the level of property taxes in any particular municipality. And water and sewer bills are based on, in part, by consumption. What's the trend? I think most of you are aware of this, that over the past 18, 20 years, based on more water efficient fixtures such as toilets, dishwashers, shower heads, and code changes that are enforced through the building code, the average consumption per customer per year has been declining. We saw a jump in consumption during the pandemic as people had to stay at their homes and the water consumption went up. We had that allowed us to minimize the user rate increases during that time. We're seeing now that it's leveling off during 2022, and we anticipate a similar consumption for 2023. The majority of the costs to operate and maintain the water supply system and sanitary sewer system are fixed, probably about 90%. The variable costs, such as chemicals and energy, that are based on volume used, they are a variable cost. However, this cost only represents about roughly not 10%. The capital investments required to maintain these systems, in particular the large plants, can be very complex, expensive, and they require a significant amount of capital, which means that they're funded through development charges, reserve funds, and debenture financing to help smooth out the impact on user rates. And the aging infrastructure continues to require annual capital investments in order to maintain these essential services, because they're not turned off. It's 24/7. They have to be ready. This is just a little visual to provide you on the fixed and variable costs. Whether we use 10% more water or not, or produce it or treat 10% less, we still have to maintain all those items in the top of the box, such as the buildings, the distribution system, the fire hydrants. We have to still comply with very strict regulatory requirements in terms of inspections, reporting, sampling still needs to be done. We're left with chemicals and electricity for our variable costs. You may ask, well, why is it so expensive? Well, they have to meet. We have no choice. It's law. We have to meet the regulatory standards that have been developed, primarily through on the drinking water side, the provincial legislation. Under the Safe Drinking Water Act, councillors have a statutory duty of care to ensure that proper capital, operation, maintenance, and funding is in place. There was a information report just want to highlight that there is, for those of you that are new to council and even those that have taken it before, there will be training under your statutory duty of care on Friday, May 5th. That training is a half-day training. We're going to run 2 sessions, a morning session and an afternoon session, and we will feed you. So if you show up, that's as I mentioned, it's no surprise the regulatory environment since Walkerton is strict in Ontario. Capital investment is high, and increases in water and sewer rates are not unique to Durham. We have seen them throughout Ontario and the North American water industry. The region is a member of the Canadian Infrastructure Benchmarking Initiative, which includes 44 municipal utilities, water and sewer facilities. And I just wanted to show you this. Typically, what's, based on an average usage of 210 cubic meters per year, from all these systems across Canada, the price per day for water and sewer is approximately between $1 to $4. How does that compare to Durham? We're at about $2.79, which is equivalent to coffee, depending on which store you go to, and a minute and a half of watching the Leafs if you're a Leaf fan. So now we go on to our assets. As I mentioned, we have, on the sanitary sewerage side, we have 11 wastewater plants, 51 pumping stations, and 2 water storage facilities that were built to mitigate basement flooding. That total value is just over $6 billion worth of infrastructure. On the water side, we have 6 surface water plants, 23 groundwater wells, 10 pumping stations, and about 22 storage facilities. Some of them include pumping stations, with a total infrastructure value of about $5.4 billion. In terms of our performance to date, for 2022, no boil water advisories for our municipal systems, 99.8% compliance on our drinking water tests, no unplanned sanitary sewerage bypasses into the environment, and 100% compliance for our wastewater effluent results. As I mentioned, we're quite active with a number of projects. At any one time, we probably have between 200 to 300 projects in the planning, conceptual design stage are active. For 2022, 23 projects are out to construction or about to be start construction with a total value of close to $170 million. Liverpool Road twinning of a force main in Pickering, the Whitby Water Supply Plant Phase 1, moving the industrial raw water pumping station. The Curtis Trunk Sanitary Sewer is a multi-year project, but that's ongoing, Phase 3. Water main replacements on Balsam Street in Scugog, and the Cannington Water Supply System, the new well and pump house power supply is under construction. So for 2023, on the water supply side, the proposed budget expenditures are close to $200 million. The funding is coming from 53% from user rates, 35% from development charges, 3% from reserves, and 8% debenture proceeds. 70% of that expenditure is for capital projects. The remaining is for operations and staff. On the sanitary sewer side, we have a proposed budget of $252.9 million. 58% of that is capital, the lab, plants and pumping stations. How that is funded, very similar fashion, but it's a different makeup, similar makeup, user rates, development charges, reserve funds. We do have a substantial amount, 30% from the region of York, because we operate the Duffins Creek water pollution control plant, and that's co-owned by Durham and York pays their share of the utilization for that plant. In the 2023 budget, we have proposed 7.389 full-time equivalents. The decimal points are there because some of the positions are shared amongst water supply, sanitary sewerage, and general tax. 5 of those proposed positions are exclusively for water supply, sanitary sewerage. 2.389 are shared positions, and this is to support the growing infrastructure of our system, and to ensure that the infrastructure, the responsibilities of maintaining that infrastructure is adequately staffed. And if we look at a high level on how the growth of our assets from the last 10 years, it has grown at a steeper rate at about just before the pandemic to where we're projecting, and staff has we're trying to ensure that staff is there, but at the same time it's not keeping pace with the growth of the infrastructure. So for 2023, we have projects go through a planning cycle, detailed design cycle, and then construction. We just broken it down there for you in terms of the amount of money that's going to be spent required for environmental assessments, about $10.7 million, detailed design, $30 million, and construction, the bulk of the funding, $195 million. For linear replacements, about 24.1 kilometers are going to be replaced for water main and sanitary sewerage. The majority of that is coordinated with other projects, regional transportation projects, the bus rapid transit project, and then the local municipalities that reconstruct local roads. We make sure that we coordinate replacement of water mains and sewers with the local municipalities. If we break down the projects in terms of type, about $143 million are to support growth, $100 million for asset management, and about $2 million for regulatory requirements. Now I'm just going to highlight some of the larger projects, some samples throughout the budget. There's a lot more projects in our capital program, but the Duffins Creek Water Pollution Control Plant in Pickering, there's a substantial amount of work that is required to be undertaken at the plant, multi-year projects, as you can see, related to digester mixing, motor control center, which is electrical work, a total estimated cost of about $64.7 million. Our share of that work is approximately $18.4 million. We're also undertaking detailed design and pre-purchase of equipment to remedial work in the Phase 3 expansion process area of Duffins Creek, which is estimated cost of $44 million. Our share of that is $8.8 million. As part of in Ajax, related to the bus rapid transit route, we're installing a trunk sanitary sewer between Harwood and Gallia Road for $11.7 million. Also in Ajax, we're proposing a Zone 2 feeder main along Taunton Road, $8.8 million, between just east of Brock to Ravencroft. The expansion of the Whitby water supply plant is also a multi-year project being phased in. The first phase, which is the relocation of the raw water pumping station, that contract was just awarded and is going to proceed to construction. Next year, we hope to get the Energy Center implemented, which is on the north side of Water Street, followed by demolition of the existing facility building, and then 2026, 2028 would be the expansion of the plant. Currently at a cost of close to $280 million. In Oshawa, we have an example here on Mary Street where we have to replace water main and sanitary sewer based on condition assessment on Mary Street North between Roslyn Road and Robert Street at a total cost of $4.6 million. We continue on with a multi-year project with the Curtis Trunk Sanitary Sewer. Design work and property acquisition has to continue, and we have close to $11.8 million in the 2023 budget. In Bowmanville, we have designed a new water storage facility and pumping station that's going to be tendered this year at an estimated cost of $55.9 million. Here's projecting also in Bowmanville where we have a replacement of a water main on Brown Street, $1 million. In Beaverton, also a multi-year project, which is going to be tendered in 2023. We're replacing the diffused air system and a number of upgrades at the Lake Simcoe Water Pollution Control Plant in Beaverton. We have a budget provision of $7 million with a total estimated cost of $15.2 million. So if we look at the risks with the budget, increasing costs of operations, in particular since the pandemic, inflation and the current economy, inflation on certain material and services has gone up substantially. There's an ongoing supply chain and labor shortage challenge, which ties into the industry capacity to undertake all these infrastructure projects within the Greater Toronto area, because the area is a growing area within North America. So in terms, there's a capacity issue in engineering and construction, and changing unpredictable weather patterns. If there's intense rainfalls in certain area, we'll need to obviously address it as we have in the past when we had basement flooding in certain particular areas. Financial pressures are upon us as we undertake large capital plant projects. There's debt costs that we have to carry, and obviously the interest rates are increasing as recently announced. And as mentioned earlier, there was questions about Bill 23 and the availability of revenue from development charges. That's also a risk. Some forecasted pressures, as mentioned, there's increased demands on infrastructure maintenance, increase of our our assets, operating costs due to system expansions, additional staffing that is required to operate and maintain the expanded infrastructure network, asset management requirements that are in place for our infrastructure, and legislative and regulatory requirements that recently have been approved by the province. Bill 23 deals with the supporting growth in housing in York and Durham region. Within that bill, there's Schedule 10 that provides the direction of wastewater servicing for the Upper York system, which has provided direction that the Upper York system will be serviced by the York-Durham system through the Lake Ontario option, which ends up at Duffins Creek Water Pollution Control Plant. PFAS chemicals are an emerging regulatory issue in Canada and the United States. And a couple of years ago, we were notified by Industry Canada that they're going to change the communication signal, which impacts our SCADA system, and there's investments required for that. And looking forward, this slide is duplicated from the first presentation, so I'm not going to go over that. And we're at questions.
Okay, folks, I'll open it up to questions. Okay, first is Councilor Mulcahy. Go ahead.
On? Oh, there we go. Thank you for the presentation. Just one quick question. Schedule 10. Has there been anything attached to that direction as far as funding goes? Have we heard anything, given that it's so specific?
Thank you. Thank you for the question, and through the chair. Your question is there any particular funding related to that? We're not aware of any particular funding. We are having continued discussions with the ministry on what the final impact, what does that all mean? But generally, infrastructure that's entirely going to be in York Region 4, Upper York, is going to be their responsibility. Any planned infrastructure in Durham that Durham requires, or we're going to have a share for those projects. And some of those projects are already in our capital program with fundings. For example, the twinning of the primary trunk sewer, that is in our program. We're going to be starting that project next year. But in terms of funding, there hasn't been anything definitive provided from the province.
Okay, and through you, Chair, so they were already in our plans, but already assuming DC is involved in those plans, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, next we've got Councillor Nicholson. Go ahead.
Yeah, so just a couple of questions. A number of municipalities in the province, including some here in Durham, are going to separate out the additional costs from Bill 23 and other new legislation as a separate charge on property tax. Are our staff considering identifying any additional costs to Durham Region water and sewer rates as a separate identified cost on our budget statements?
Through the chair, I'm going to pass that to the Commissioner of Finance.
So thank you for the question. Because of where we are with this particular 2023 budget, we clearly didn't have the time to separate all that out in order to get this out the door as we speak. However, what we're looking at is that we will do that full analysis and for the 2024 budgets and onward. So you'll see reports leading up to it, and then you'll see for the 2024 budget very clear what the implications are.
Okay. Second question, in reviewing the water and sewer budgets, I noted that the capital program net dollars expenditures is basically the same as last year, but the staffing costs and operational costs are up by 10%. Why are we requiring more staff if we're doing the same work from last year?
Through the chair, thank you for the question. as pointed out, we are having our system is our inventory of water supply and wastewater is expanding. So we do need those staff to undertake to maintain the system, to plan, design, basically to conduct the full cycle of planning, designing, and constructing and operating and maintaining the system.
Okay. And looking at the number of the positions and their job descriptions, there seems to be very little planning, and most of it seems to be operations. Can you explain why it's operational staff that are going up and not maintenance and capital staff review or design is going up?
Well, through the chair, staff, there's a variety of staff within the proposed complement of 7.3. We have some junior engineers that will be involved in planning and designing, project managing projects. We have supervisors that are going to be also planning, maintaining services and infrastructure within our system.
Okay. Have you considered for some of the projects doing more of a design build option so that we don't have to require in-house staff to basically hold hands through the entire process?
Through the chair, thank you for the question. Design build also does require someone to project manage the file. Most of our large projects are, we don't design large plant projects, they're project managed.
Okay, we consider that for a smaller project.
For smaller projects, we do have an in-house design team that prepare drawings. Those type of projects and in-house staff we use for smaller water main replacements, sanitary sewerage, and smaller vertical projects. We do have an in-house engineering team.
Have we done a cost comparison between what it costs us to do it in-house as opposed to what if we did it through a design build, through contracting out, to make sure we're getting the best value? Have we done that analysis?
Through the chair, we haven't done a full analysis, but I can say the cost of doing in-house engineering is less expensive than contracting out. The challenge is trying to find people to, if you had to staff up to do all the engineering in-house, you'd basically be trying to set up your own consulting team, and the consultants pay a lot more than us. So, and there's a staff shortage within the industry, not only in Ontario, but globally in terms of technical staff.
Okay, just one other area I just wanted to look at. In some of the capital projections, you've given, obviously, cost estimates going through in future years. Are those based on this year's capital construction cost? Or have we indexed the inflation factor into those cost projections?
Through the chair, thank you for the question. The cost estimates are some of them are based on the information that we have at the time. So some of them are more accurate than others. If there's a detailed design that has progressed to a more comfortable stage, then those estimates are indexed. We work with the engineering consultant to adjust those. Others where it's more at a conceptual stage and they're put in the forecast, it's based on the information on hand. It's not, I would say, 100% accurate. The estimates are classified in a certain rating from 1 to 5. As you get closer with detailed design complete and you have more accurate information, that's a class 1 estimate, where if you're working at a very high level conceptual base, you're using benchmark costs or costs from previous projects at a high level, and that's referred to as a class 5 estimate.
Okay, last question. When you're doing your analysis of priorities for inclusion in the 2023 budget, it's probably very clear that some projects may get deferred that are needed, but obviously there's not enough money to do everything. Do you provide us with estimates on what the cost of deferral is? I'm told the average construction increase is about 15% a year. So if we're delaying a project, are we literally costing ourselves money by paying more rather than borrowing to pay it and do it now?
Thank you for the question. We have, in terms of priority of projects, we look at regulatory, health and safety first. Then if there's a rehabilitation or end of service life, those projects are scheduled. And then we look at growth, what's required for growth and the availability of funding from DC reserves and user rates. We have not done an analysis in terms of whether a project has been deferred based on funding. What we're presenting, what I can say is what we're presenting are projects that we know that are ready to go to construction and are able to proceed.
Okay, just to clarify, are there projects ready to go that are not on this list and have been deferred due to monitoring constraints?
Not for 2023.
All right. Moving forward, as we develop these plans, you give us the list of the ones that you're suggesting need to be done. We don't know what the other deficiencies are. Will you be providing us with the list of, like, a status of all our water and sewer piping, so we can see community by community which pipes are in good standard, which pipes are at risk, and which are in bad standard? Like, do we get a map to see where each of these particular projects stand?
Through the chair, we can, if you're interested in that sort of detail, we can provide that.
All right, yeah, well, I know I am. I don't know if others are. They can contact you directly, but I'd be interested in seeing just how good we're doing in maintaining our infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the questions. Next, we've got our vice chair. Go ahead. Just a second, you're off. There
Sorry.
you go.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to ask through you to the Commissioner. Again, in the vein of risk assessment, I know I'm not going to go through the projects in which, the regions had difficulties, because I think other regions, other municipalities, anyone in the construction industry incurs difficulties through you, Chair, when dealing with projects. But it's the risk of having a project that's underserviced or under engineered or underdeveloped that I'm concerned with. And I look at the trunk lines at Trolls, I think one of the projects that we're going to be undertaking, and there are a number of others. Just wondering what sort of preventative steps, either through engineering or through our tendering process, that we've identified or executed when it comes to ensuring that those trunk lines are actually ones that we can reconnect to without having too much disruption, such as the disruption that we're incurring on Thornton and Conlin in the city of Oshawa.
Through the chair, thank you for the question. Every project will look at the risks involved. We plan out what's the future maintenance requirements, what's potential future connections or disruption. So we do that on majority of our projects, because we have to deal with utilities, location approvals, in particular with the Conlin Road and Thornton Road area. That area did not have any underground services in that area. The roundabout was constructed at a time where the underground services weren't planned, so that project proceeded. Now we're in that area because there's major disruption because of the number of pipes, underground pipes. We're dealing with 3 pipes in that area: a local water main, a local sanitary sewer, and a large diameter feeder main that's going to connect the Brooklyn water supply system with the North Oshawa system. So we try our best not to dig roads up twice. However, sometimes utilities are not, they're not going to be putting in their facility because they've decided they don't have the funding or they're not going to proceed, and they're going to go at a later time. But for our priority in terms of servicing the community or ensuring that the system's sound, we have to proceed. So,
yeah. So through you, Chair, I think in the same sort of tone, constructive tone as Councillor Nicholson previously with respect to the standard of service for roads, I think the standard of our projects, I would hope, because the average person, they're going to look at things such as the one that I just mentioned, and they won't understand the challenge of, just how difficult it was to bring the services in from the Whitby end to the Oshawa end. They won't understand the depth. They won't understand anything aside from what I would actually perceive to be a concern, which is you constructed a road, you had a roundabout there, services weren't poked through to the other side, so you had to rip it up. And there are a lot of other elements that are included in that. But I think just adding that element of sort of risk assessment in any of our projects and ensuring, because we tend to underbuild at times, that's the perception. And so that then costs us money through you, Chair, and also time, and also the image related issue with respect to government is that, whether it's at Works or whether it's in another department, we haven't foreseen, what the impacts will be down the line. So in this particular case, with the projects that we have through you, Chair, to the Commissioner, I just want to make sure that we look at every angle possible when it comes to delivering that project, and whether or not, we've tendered something that's not realistic, in the sense that we've asked for X, but really we need X and Y, because, a few years down the road, it's foreseeable that we're going to have to do something to that particular piece of infrastructure that then would cause others, especially the taxpayer, to look at us and say, can't believe you didn't think of that. So I know that at a high level, but us as a council, I just want to make sure that we're afforded that opportunity as a department and as a committee to be able to go back to the taxpayer and say, we looked at every angle, and staff have provided us with a project that's going to be adequate with some longevity. So through you, Chair, those are my comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any additional questions from committee members? Okay, are there any questions from anyone on the line or in the room who are not committee members? Oh, Councillor Schumer, go ahead.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair, I trust you're hearing me okay?
Yep.
Okay. As you know, Cannington and Sunderland operate their wastewater is on the lagoon systems, and of course they're quite old. Can you give committee some kind of idea where these systems fit on the long-term capital plan for, I guess, replacement is really the only option there?
Thank you. Through the Chair, thank you for the question. For both communities, the region's undertaking an environmental assessment process, which is currently underway. We are dealing with lagoons that we're only allowed to discharge into the Beaver River for a limited time. And so the environmental assessment is funded through the program, and the expansions are currently within the 5-year program. The forecast is not a budget commitment, but they are in the forecast.
Okay, so I'm sorry, just to clarify there. So you're saying within 5 years they could be replaced?
Through the Chair, we are undertaking the environmental assessment. The solution for additional capacity for both Sunderland and Cannington are going to come out through that environmental assessment. The solution, for example, if it's some sort of small plant treatment system, there's an allowance within the 5-year capital program to undertake that project. But I do qualify that that's dependent on completing the environmental assessment, getting all the environmental approvals, regulatory approvals, undertaking the detailed design, and then going to construction. But there is an allowance within the capital program for both those projects.
Okay. Is that a typical timeline? About 5 years out from the environmental assessment stage to completion?
Yes, the project projects that we have to undertake an environmental assessment sometimes can take 10 years. So 5 to 10 years for large capital infrastructure, and in particular plants, they require that type of timeline.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, next we've got Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, there's been quite a bit of discussion about the phenomenal growth that Durham Region's facing. We had a report quite recently about the growth expected in Uxbridge, which is nowhere near what we're seeing down here in the south, but still at the 30 to 35% range over the next 30 years. We're very heavily constrained by sewage capacity. When I see that you've got about $250 million planned in 23, is there a long-term view to enhance the wastewater management within Uxbridge?
Through the chair, thank you very much. Currently, we're undertaking a detailed design of upgrades at the Uxbridge Water Pollution Control Plant. That project is looking at optimizing the treatment process at Uxbridge, and also we have to at the same time deal with asset management items at that plant that need to be designed and constructed at the same time. So currently, and I stand corrected, Mike Hubbles here, our manager of design, I believe we're at the detailed design stage that where the project will be undertaken during 2023, 2024 with a tender in 2024, with a tender in 2024.
Great, that's a great update, thank you. And just a comment, we've had a number of projects going on where your staff has been involved with some street reconstruction. We've had all kinds of feedback. You spoke to the issues associated with waste management and so on, and we've had phenomenal support. So through you to all of your team, thank you for all that help.
Thank you very much.
Okay, are there any additional questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Mr. Preston. I appreciate you putting yourself on the hot seat for a little while. All right. So next we are into correspondence. Through waste, there's no correspondence or reports on the waste items under works. We are down to 9.1A, and this is from residents of the city of Oshawa in regards to a sound pollution barrier on Harmony Road. What would we like to do with this, folks? Okay, so the recommendation is to receive it. Motion from Councillor Crawford to receive. Is there a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Cook. Questions or comments on the motion? All right. All in favor? Oh, sorry. Your light didn't come on in time, but go ahead, Councillor Nicholson.
Yes, I'm going to raise this point probably regularly. We often get receive for information motions. I have great trouble, and I'm sure many other councillors do, explaining to our residents what that means. If we're going to have a receive information, is it possible to get some small explanation of what staff's going to do with it? Is it simply that staff say thank you for letting us know? That's one level of receive information. A second level might be staff are going to take it under consideration and try to address the issues and report back. Receive information doesn't really do anything to inform the writer of what's happening to her correspondence.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Mr. Preston, do you want to take that?
Thank you. Through the chair, as this is a new term in council, I believe we did have a information report on noise barriers and noise fences, but we're happy to bring that back to committee, so to update that.
Would it be difficult for staff to reach out, if this passes and receive information, to reach out to the writer and give them a small explanation of what our procedures and how we do these reviews?
Yes, we could do that.
Thank you very much.
And I think our vice chair has a comment, or no?
Forward to seeing if we could have that report or that comment from staff attached to the receipt for information so that residents could at least understand what the position of the region was and that their expectation could either be met or addressed in a different fashion.
Yes, through the chair, perhaps I'll get Ramesh to make some comments on that.
Through the chair to the councillors, it's a good suggestion, councillor, like something rather than just saying receive for information, perhaps we could have elaborated on what at least the staff position is. In this case, we have talked to the residents involved numerous times in the last previous years, as well as other residents in other corridors that have sought a retrofit based noise walls, and we've clarified to them multiple times that the region does not build noise walls as a retrofit project. Our council policy, I believe it's 2014, is to assess noise levels and through environmental assessments and implement mitigation measures only as part of road expansion projects within the funding envelope of DCs and property taxes and so on.
Go ahead.
I'm just a little unfriendly to the new system. I apologize. So what we were saying is in previous reports, we have things like berms that we could potentially be using in new projects. But ultimately, this had to have been addressed through things like a site plan, through the initial stages of whatever project this was. And essentially, this would be a retrofit, which the region isn't undertaking. Is that correct?
Exactly, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm wondering if, just to make this more official, if we could do a friendly amendment on that to have the previous report. So Councillor Crawford and Cook, you're happy to take that? And just to send the existing report to the residents in question? Okay. Any concerns with that?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. All right, so all in favor of that motion? Oh, is your hand still up, Councillor Nicholson?
Yes, I put also I'm in trouble with the system. Sometimes when I press it twice, it turns it off.
Okay.
So we're all getting used to this new system.
Yes, so when you want to request to speak, just press your button and I control it. So I'll turn you on.
Okay.
Thank you. My concern was the answer there. We create the noise. We build the road, we create the noise, and then we wash our hands of the process. And we simply say, well, that's just too bad. We're not going to fix. Even if we find that our design, say, example, in 2014, when we built the road, we were wrong. We expected no major impact, and we got major impact. But we don't seem to have a policy of how we can go back and review whether the noise that's generated from what we built is in fact caused by our design. And it seems to be the standard policy is, for want of a better word, we turn into Pontius Pilate. It's not our problem. We don't want to look at it. Which unfortunately, again, it's wonderful in your new areas when you're building new roads, you can have these standards. But if we don't retrofit roads when we create noise from our design, we're saying to the more traditional neighborhoods in our communities, sorry, too bad, not our problem. When it in fact is our problem because we're the noise generator. So I wonder if staff could address, why, if we find in subsequent review that the noise is generated by the design on our build, we aren't going back and try to mitigate that.
Do you want to take that?
Go ahead. If I could just comment, we will. I think we'll take this back and present the information. I think it'll be helpful to look at it holistically. That's my suggestion.
Well, and I do appreciate that, and I'm not trying to be obstructive here in any way. Many regional roads were built on standards that we would never build today. But the road still is generating noise. It's generating impact. And if our standard policy is that we only look at it when we rebuild that road, that could be 50 years from now. And meanwhile, the residents that live in those areas have impacts. So I don't think we can simply take our kind of wash our hands approach. We have to say on a case-by-case basis, if there's something we can do, we should do. So I just want to leave that with staff.
Okay, so let's officially have our vote now because we were sort of interrupted in the middle of that. Just Councilor Nicholson, your mic's back on. Okay, perfect. Just want to be really clear. All in favor of that motion? Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, next, folks, we are at item number B. This is in regards to the 412, and this is correspondence from the town of Whitby in regards to ramps and signalization lights. Chair Henry, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm not moving the recommendation. I have a question to staff, and then that may lead me to doing something else. Do we have any? I'd like to support this. I think it would be good to eliminate some of the traffic problems we're having in that particular section of the town of Whitby. Do we have an idea of what the costs would be on the regional side related to this item?
Through the chairman, there's a couple of elements to this. So if I can go through one at a time, the easier one would be the signals on Highway 2 and 412. They are being designed as part of the BRT project that's going to happen between Lake Ridge and Des Newman. But this resolution will help to make sure they pay their share of the cost, given it's at the end of the day, it's at the interchange, not just for BRT. So that's a good one. In terms of so that would be a cost shared element, Mr. Chairman, and that's something we'll need to negotiate with them. So this resolution would empower staff in our discussions with MTO. In terms of the signals on Highway 7 and 412, that's something, although it is not in our jurisdiction, we've had a number of requests from residents, and looking at the traffic volumes there, I think they would warrant a signal, but obviously it's an MTO. Highway 7 is MTO and 412 is MTO as well. So this is probably not a bad item to even advance through the OGRA as a delegation if committee and council sees merit in it. And so there's no cost sharing there. There'll be entirely MTO. And the other element of this resolution is the new interchange on Roslyn and 412. That's something we staff would completely support. In fact, in our MTO liaison meetings, which happens twice a year, we have tried to advance this. And no disrespect to our counterparts there, I don't think it's getting any traction, and therefore an interchange at Roslyn at 412, we believe it would be game changing, especially with the tolls removed on 412.
So, as a follow-up question, you would have no problem if we endorse the resolution?
Oh, absolutely. A good one, yeah.
So, in that case, Mr. Chair, I'd like to give you a motion to endorse the town of Whitby's correspondence.
Sounds good. I think we'll find a seconder for that. Thank you very much, Councillor Wakai. Any questions or comments on that motion? Yes, go ahead, Rhonda.
Thank you. And I especially thank you, Chair Henry. That was a motion I brought forward in Whitby. So very happy to see that. I don't know with the Auditor General's recent comments on the removal of the 412 with respect to the province that we will be successful in all of it. But if we can be successful in any of it, I think it's a huge win. So I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate your efforts as well, staff. It's these areas are challenging, but it's not just our own residents. This is something. It's a provincial highway, and the people that are using it are from everywhere. So thank you.
Excellent. All right. Is there any other questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, all in favor? And is there any opposed on that? Any opposed? No. Okay. That was a unanimous motion. I just wanted to highlight that. I just didn't see your hand. Tito, that's all. Okay, and I just missed it. That's all. I love looking at you. All right. So on that note, that was carried. All right, we do have. We're now at 9.2A. Yes. Sure, I think that's in order. Any concerns? Okay. Second that. So 5 minutes, 10 minutes? What would you like us? 10-minute break? Okay. All in favor of a 10-minute break? Okay, that's carried. Thanks. All right. So I'm going to call the meeting back to order. We are at 9.2A, and this is the Works Committee report number 2022 W42. Do you want to speak to this, John? Or there are recommendations that are pretty clear. Oh, I'd love to hear from you. We do have a light from Councillor Nicholson that's intended to be on.
Yes, it was.
Okay,
I was just getting in the line, and
yeah, no, go ahead. So
it's
you
new system.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Councillor. Do you have a question or?
Well, I was waiting to see how we're going to proceed, I guess is the question I'm having. Given there's a budget, are we going to do that under normal committee rules, or are we going to go into committee of the whole so we can ask multiple questions, or just how do you proceed moving ahead with this water and sanitary? Are you going to do them separately, or
So
combined?
So why don't we first get it on the floor? So why don't we get a mover and a seconder for the recommendation, and then we'll see where it goes from there. So we do have a mover in Councillor Mulcahy, and then do we have a seconder? Councillor Cook. Okay. So now, do you have a specific question, Councillor Nicholson?
Well, my specific question, I was actually going to move that at a lower rate because I'm having a hard trouble accepting 5.6. What's missing from the report is what the projected increases are for the next 3 years. Has staff got any thought as to what we're looking at over the term?
So just to be really clear, so the question is, do we know what the rate increases are projected to be
For the next 3 years.
For the next 3 years. Do you want to take that?
Sure, I'll start. And Nicole Pincombe is here, Director of Budgets from Finance Department. Just to clarify, today we're recommending that the budget as presented proceeds to Finance and Administration Committee and then Council. The specific user rates will be presented next Tuesday, December 13th at Finance and Administration. I will let Nicole discuss that in terms of the proposed user rates for 2023 and projected. I'll just add, normally we project that anywhere between 4 to 6%. As mentioned in my presentation, the last few years, because we received additional revenue, those increases were less than 4 to 6%. They were in the 1 to 2%. And Nicole, I'll pass it on to Nicole.
Thank you. Through the chair, so just a couple of points, maybe if I could. The works budget here is one of, I'll say, 3 components or 3 budgets that roll up together to inform the user rate calculation. So there's the works portion of the water and sewer budget. There's the utility finance portion of the budget that deals with the billing and customer service aspects of the water and sanitary sewerage system. And then there's the corporate administration costs as well. That is the 3rd component. Those last 2 components, along with the works budget coming from committee today, will be what John mentions Finance and Administration Committee will deal with on Tuesday. In addition to the budgeted expenditures that will be in those 3 budgets, the other piece that influences the user rate that will be recommended for committee and council's consideration is around consumption. So when we factor in all 3 of those budgets, we're looking at a projected user rate increase again for council's consideration of 4.3%. That's combined water and sewer. So what you see from a budget perspective here for works needs to be considered with those other components that will then inform the overall rate increase. In terms of what the longer term projections are, as John mentioned, consumption, we had higher residential consumption over the last couple of years, which has allowed us to keep the rates lower. Consumption, as John mentioned in the presentation, Commissioner Preston mentioned in the presentation, we're seeing with the return to work in school in person that residential consumption is down to pre-pandemic levels, which is influencing the rate calculation as well. So in terms of what the future rate increases look like, that combined with Bill 23 implications, it's a bit challenging at this point to give a firm commitment to what future rates beyond 2023 would look like.
Hey,
So
just some clarification, if you don't mind, Councillor. So basically, the way I'm just hearing what you're saying is, for most users, their water bills will probably remain fairly constant because their usage will go down, even though the rates have gone up. Correct?
Yes, excuse me. Thank you.
Okay.
Through the chair. Yeah. If you wish, I can speak to what an average impact that would be on an average residential customer, if that's helpful.
Let's see if we get that question, if that works. Thank you very much. Sorry, Councillor, go ahead.
Yeah. No, the problem I'm having, and it's we're hearing it. I'm sure all councillors are hearing it. The financial impacts in the last few months, and it was projecting for the next few months, is a horror story for many. Interest rates are going through the roof, so everyone's costs are going up. Remortgaging costs are up, rent costs are up. I don't have to go into the litany of increases. The post-pandemic impacts are still amongst us. And I have a little trouble when I'm looking at a 4 to 6% average increase over 4 years and looking at the millions and millions of dollars we have sitting in reserves. So I guess the question is, how much money would we have to take out of reserve to lower the impact on water and sewer rates by 1%?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair. So the capital forecast that's contemplated here in the budget calls for significant and relies on significant contributions from reserve funds in order to deliver the plan. So over the course of the 10-year plan, there's approximately $350 million in reserve fund draws contemplated as part of this plan. And essentially that is essentially fully committing the reserve fund balances over the course of the plan in order to deliver.
Is there some reason why my question didn't get answered?
So I believe the specific question was to lower rates by 1%, what would you have to pull from reserve?
Through the chair, I apologize. It's about $1 million on each to $1 million for water and $1 million for sewer for 1%.
And could you give me the current status of the amounts in each of those reserves?
I can just 1 second if I can just pull that up. So again, these are opening balances, and if I could just mention that the opening balances are fully committed over the course of the plan, but in terms of the stabilization reserve, there's about $140 million on the water side, and on the sewer side, it is it's about 200.
$200 or $200 million?
Apologies, 200 million through the chair.
All right. So if we were to reduce, hypothetically, and want to reduce the overall user rate impact by 2%, I would need to move a motion to take the $2 million out of the one reserve and $2 million out of the other reserve. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes. We'd have to get you the exact numbers, but that's the order of magnitude. If I could offer another comment, if that's okay. We generally tend to use these reserve fund balances for capital costs and not ongoing operating costs, so it doesn't create sort of an extra pressure when we approach the 2024 budget. If we use it for ongoing operating costs, the challenges we have is then we have that amount to fund in 2024 as an example, along with the additional operating pressures that we'll face in those forecast years as well. Thank you.
Okay. Just so I can be clear, and being a newer member of this committee, it is called the Sewer Rate Stabilization Reserve. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes, plant stabilization reserve. Thank you.
And the same for water. It's a water stabilization reserve. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct.
It's not a capital reserve fund. It's not a future budget slush fund. It's a rate stabilization reserve established by council for the purposes of stabilization rate increases. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes, over the sort of the terms by which we use those reserves, we do use those for unanticipated operating pressures that we may not anticipate, as well as to fund abnormally high capital expenditures or capital items that tend to cause a lumpy capital forecast plan.
Given that staff may not recommend in their proposed budget using those funds for that purpose, it is still within the discretion of council to use those funds for reducing user impacts. Is that within the rules of procedure?
Through the chair, yes, that is within the council purview to direct. Thank you.
I ask those questions just to get it on record because I think it's important that we, as a committee, not simply a rubber stamp was put in front of us. We set up these reserves for a purpose. The reserves were set up in order to keep the rate stabilization of the rate user rates at manageable levels to meet the impact it would have on our users. That was the singular intent of setting up those reserves. The question I would like to put is, could staff indicate to me how much money has been added to that reserve over the last 5 years for both of them?
Through the chair, I apologize, Councillor Nicholson. I don't have that information right at my fingertips, but I'm certain that's something we could get back to you with. I apologize for not having it today.
Would it be fair to estimate that the amount of money been added into that reserve over the last term of office would exceed the $2 million amount that I'm suggesting might be something the committee would consider?
Through the chair, I can confirm that the amount that would have been contributed to those reserve funds over the last term of council would have been in excess of that amount.
Right. And the source of those funds would have been user rates that were collected but not expended. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes, it would have come from the water sewer user rates.
Right. And I really thank you for those answers because I think we got to look at this from a holistic approach. We have been putting money aside because we've been collecting more money than expected to the higher consumption rate over the last couple of years. And therefore, we've increased the amount in our water stabilization reserve and our sewer stabilization reserve considerably, both pre-pandemic and during the pandemic. We're still in the repercussions economically off the pandemic. Businesses are still trying to recover. Homes are still trying to get full employment. We've seen the impact on rents and mortgages. We know the interest rates are impacting. I can't think of a better time to give a little bit back to the user rates, to the users that are paying, then return some of the windfall money that we did not expect during the pandemic, but we received. And we're not talking tens of millions of dollars here. We're talking about taking $2 million out of a $40 million reserve account and $2 million out of a $200 million reserve account. And that would reduce the overall impact on the user rates by 2%. I look forward to hearing from my colleagues and their thoughts on this, but at the appropriate time, Mr. Chair, I would like the opportunity to move a motion to use those funds to reduce the user rates. But I don't want to preclude the debate on the whole budget for my colleagues. If you just put me on the nose for that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And before we go to our next speaker, it might make more sense so we can make an informed decision overall on the impacts to reserves and to user rates, to ask for that information to come back to us to consider during F&A when we make our final decision. Because the point with this, and I think you just lost your mic, so I apologize, and I'm not trying to debate, but what I've always found it very difficult to do is to make general decisions on the fly without real data in front of us. What's the long-term impacts? And we do this with every tax increase as well.
It is this committee's responsibility what we submit to F&A.
So, and I hear you loud.
And to usurp our role by letting them make the decision means this committee didn't make the decision. So if we send a staff report through without changes, then we're saying we as a group support the staff recommended increase.
So my point, Councillor Nicholson, here is we hear this all the time where you limit a tax increase and go and burn through reserve funds to limit a short-term tax increase. The problem that you get into with that, and I'm not suggesting we don't do it, but when you want to do that with your eyes wide open, because what it often does is pushes a much larger cost implication down the road that you have to somehow stabilize as well. So that's, I get your point, and I'm glad you brought it up. I think asking for real data on exactly where our rate stabilization funds are, what they've been used for in the past, would be a better approach. But again, it's up to the committee on where we go.
With respect, Mr. Chair, I asked those questions of Nicole. I asked why the reserve was set up. It was answered. I asked how much money was in the reserve. It was answered. I asked how much had gone into the reserve over the last 5 years, including monies from the overconsumption we did not expect during the pandemic. It was indicated it was much more than the $2 million I was suggesting. I believe we have the information that this committee could make in our recommendation to finance. And of course, the final decision is not going to be made either by this committee or finance, but it's going to be done by the council as a whole. But I think we have a responsibility at this committee to not simply say, let somebody else make the decision. If we're uncomfortable as colleagues here on this committee with the rate that's being presented, it's our responsibility to suggest an alternate rate. And that's why I'm asking for the opportunity to, this committee, consider the 2% reduction. And I'll leave it at that. I don't want to do a cross debate between yourself and myself. But I just want to get into it before us that our job at Works is to submit the budget we think that the taxpayers can support. And we have two options. Either we can take money from reserves or we can cut the budget. So, I mean, that's the only two options we have before us. So whatever we choose to do is the recommendation of the Works Committee. So I'll leave it in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Chair.
Just a couple points. So one is this was coming out of the COVID challenge has been something that we have seen in supply chain challenges. And just for committee, I had a conversation with staff the other day. Our chemicals for treatment of water didn't go up just 2%. I'm going to go to Ms. Pincombe. Ms. Pincombe, I think it was over 200%.
Through the chair, if I could, in response to the chair's question, yes, we saw very significant increases in chemical costs, which are a major component of the water and sanitary sewerage's budget. So in total, the chemical budget for 2023 over the 2022 budget increased 5.8 million. Some of those chemicals, there's about 4 or 5 main chemicals that we use. Some of the major ones increased twofold. That's like 200% above what we had previously budgeted and had seen. So overall, the chemical budget is up over 66% from prior year. If I could, the other major piece that's driving this is also the utility piece, which is also very significant on water and sewer plant processing, as the operational staff can attest to. And we are also seeing increasing pressures on the utility side as well, both electricity and on the natural gas side.
So thank you. And I absolutely understand where Councillor Nicholson is going and looking for relief for our ratepayers. But I believe that we need the information from all parts of this that goes towards the budget. And at the proper time, discussions can take place. But I also want to remind members of this committee and council that under and I don't have the act in front of me, so I'm just going from memory. So Mr. Presta, correct me if I'm wrong. We have a statute obligation to maintain the infrastructure that we have in place within this organization. And it is failure to do that takes the liability of water treatment and water and puts it on the individual members of council. I'm not trying to be controversial. I'm just saying there is an act that it's called the Walkerton Water Act, Mr. Presta.
It was in my presentation, under the Safe Drinking Water Act, each councillor has a statutory duty of care.
So personally, I would be much more comfortable if this went through the process and got to the point where we could have all the information that was needed, that all questions could be sent to staff in advance to have the information needed and decisions be made at the appropriate time, which would be the budget.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Councilor Marin Pietro, thanks.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to support Councillor Nicholson's motion if that is a motion that he's going to put on the floor, because I understand the spirit of the motion in the same light that Chair Henry does. And I think the expectation would be that through that motion, the discussion, be it through the committee and staff, have the understanding to inform the process at the finance level, in that the understanding of some of the bills that have been passed at the provincial level have implications. And unless I'm missing something, this percentage that we're dealing with may have a little bit to do with that. Is that something that would apply or not in this case?
Through the chair, as identified in the presentation, for 2023, we haven't, and Commissioner Taylor mentioned, we have not done the full analysis on the impact from Bill 23 for the 2023 water and sewer budget.
Okay. And so the concern stands, in my respect, is not just the optics of a percentage increase that appears to be not just politically unpalatable, but financially of concern to the average person. I know that we can get into the debate of what that sum would be and relative to what others' utilities and what other costs in someone's household. But the fact of the matter is, I think through you, Chair, is our understanding of Bill 23 will have impact on reserves and surpluses and things like that. I would like to see us utilize our surpluses and reserves for what they were collected for, and that is for the rainy day that we're in, and the consideration that we may potentially lose some of that money as a result of that bill, and that money was collected by the rate users or the rate payers. And I think ultimately we have to be very careful, because there are examples of this across the board through you, Chair, in different capacities, whether it be at local municipalities or at upper tier municipalities, where we've had entities with surpluses that have then been recaptured by the governing body because they are seen to be a slush fund. That's not the case here. I understand how things work, but the sum that the average person will look and say, you've got a lot of money on your hands. The province will do the same thing, and I know that they're going to do the same thing. So right now, we're looking at things like provincial requirements, and I know the act that Chair Henry alluded to, because I had to work in the Works Department with a water ticket under that act following Walkerton. That's going to continue. We have to meet those responsibilities, and the legislation is what it is. But I think when you consider things like interchanges and infrastructure projects that have a tie to provincial, responsibilities, we're not seeing the dollars flowing from the province, and we're being impacted now further with legislations that we're expected to maintain as a result of the provincial sort of mandates. So I think at some point, the average person, whether they're a ratepayer or someone even observing the process, will say, I think you're carrying your fair share. Like, at what point do we ask the province to interject or to backfill some of the deficiencies? And that's why I ask about how this will impact us in 2023 and moving forward in perpetuity, because I think we're going to be in a situation where we will go through our reserves or our surplus, whatever the case may be, however we want to coin it, and then the provinces may come to us for more, and we're still going to be at the point where we're having to raise rates because we can't manage. So I do think that it's easy for us to ask for another 10%, but I don't think it's right. So I'm going to be supporting Councillor Nicholson's motion on the basis that I think we need to have this difficult discussion here in order to inform finance that I don't believe that it's palatable, not just on a political level, but just functionally not palatable.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Crawford, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I remember being back on the school board and lobbying so hard for one certain thing to happen, and I got it passed. And then Something else got taken off, and I asked why that happened. And they said, because you got what you wanted. So you can't just take one thing away from. I'm all for saving our residents money for sure. But if my understanding is right, the recommendation goes from here to finance, and then finance to committee of the whole, or council, right? So can we make the recommendation, as Councillor Nicholson is saying, with the caveat that we need to have a report on how that affects the outcome of, where would we lose if we took $2 million from the reserves, and have that discussion in F&A? Is that exactly what you're asking for, or am I? No, that's not what you're asking for. That's what I'm asking for. Can we do that? And that way the discussion at F&A can happen based on that information coming forward. I think maybe that's what Chair Henry was asking for.
I think it's what I was asking for.
Okay,
Actually,
never mind. I knew I heard it from
to be honest,
somewhere.
So what I was suggesting is sort of for us to have a report come back that we send to F&A that has the full impact. I would encourage members of this committee to go to that F&A meeting just to make sure that we can be part of that conversation. We're under a bit of a time constraint here just because of the way that the meetings have gotten started after the election. But we do need to make a decision here today. Do we have more people on the speaker list? Okay, Councillor Nicholson is next. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to clarify a couple of points because we're really, use my words carefully here. We're talking about apples and oranges here. With due respect to the chair, my motion will have no impact on our liability for councillors because we're not changing the expenditure. The expenditure that staff had recommended remains the same. All my motion would do is indicate a change in the source of funding to meet that expenditure. So everything the staff asked for in these budget reports, every position, every project, everything is included in there, every chemical, okay, is still being recommended, regardless of my motion. What I'm suggesting here is the money that we collected as a windfall, money we did not expect to get in 21 and 22, because we didn't budget over time for a pandemic. We didn't expect that the consumption rates would go up to the level they went up. We saw it in the chart, the considerable bump that we got. If they'd remained at the 2020 and forward level, we wouldn't have $40 million in the reserve account or $200 million in the other reserve account. We'd have considerably less. But we received a windfall of consumption-related revenues that we didn't budget for and didn't expect. And our policy is to put that in the stabilization reserve. And what I'm suggesting is, in order to maintain this level of service that staff believe is necessary to meet the needs of the region moving forward and not overly impact the user rate, it is a prudent course of action to use those windfall funds, at least a portion of them, and I might add it's going to be about like 25% of them, to reduce the overall impact by saying rather than have a 3% cost coming from the debentures, we might have a 4% or 4.2%. That's the only change. The change here is financing. The change here is not the choice of projects or what we're going to expend. So it's really up to this committee to recommend whether we want to use this level of financing, and the pie chart showed it, or we want to add an additional $2 million in each of the reserves into that financing pie chart, and that would have an impact of reducing the overall user rate impact to our user rates considerably. And as been indicated in debate, we're going to see people benefiting as well by not using as much water. So the question is very simple to me. We ask people to reduce their consumption. And if you look at the pie charts, our staff and our citizens have been very good at reducing consumption. Then we're going to penalize them by raising their rates because they didn't use enough water to meet our budget projections. So it makes me question, if that's our plan, why would we bother even having a rate stabilization account? Because we set that up for the purposes of leveling these increases, not simply as a additional capital reserve account that we could tap into 10 years from now. So the question that comes down, do you want to impact them now with a hope that we're going to impact something later? Or do we want to recognize we've got a windfall and let's give a little bit back to the users? It's their money after all.
Okay. Next, we've got Councillor Maren Pietri. Go ahead.
Chair, I'm not averse to receiving an understanding of what the impacts would be. So through you, I think the caveat for me would be understanding if we take this action, then as Councillor Nicholson indicated, if there's a net zero impact, where the funding would come from and what it would mean for that funding. I think it's beneficial. And I think it's something that we're going to be forced to do by the province in the long term anyways. But it's also something that I foresee as being acceptable and expected by the public because it's their money. We've collected it to the tune of more than what they've actually, needed or consumed. And so it sits there to their benefit. I know that we utilize it in other projects, but in this particular case, I think it's not just going to be this body, but others that are going to be challenged to. And I'll just caution, next year at this time, we may be in a different circumstance. I hope I'm wrong, but I think the indicators are going to be challenging. So I think we need to be ahead of the curve in being able to address how we're going to deal with the impact. So I guess what I'm trying to distill through you is if we are going to get a report as part of this motion that comes back and says, this is going to be the effect, then I'd like to see with it, because I don't know where everyone's going to vote, what we can do to remedy the positive vote that I'll cast along with Councillor Nicholson to advance this. And then if it's a negative vote, what that then means for the average person moving forward, knowing that it's going to be substantially more costly, especially considering some of the effects that we'll have potentially as a result of Bill 23. So I think all the financial implications, for and against, need to be understood in that report.
Okay, and next we've got Councillor Crawford. Go ahead.
So I just want to clarify. So if we don't have this increase, you have a project, don't you, that you want to have servicing done in your?
I think we have many of them.
Yeah. So those are not even in the forecast, correct? So if you take money out, how do you put a project in? Sorry, should I be talking to him? I don't know if I should be talking to him or not.
Let's try not to have debate here, but it's
Okay,
back and forth debate. But I think
Do I talk to you?
Sure, you can talk to me. I always like talking to you folks.
No, it just means because it seems like there's an opposition here. So we have a project that the vice chair is pushing in his area, and then we're reducing the budget. So and it wouldn't be in the long-term forecast, right? It would be a new project. So something. I get it. I understand, and I understand the need to save money and all that stuff. All I'm saying is that the extra perceived windfall could be something that could be used in a new project that was not in the long-term forecast. Anyway, I'm not talking to you, but I am talking to you.
So, and folks, I think what we see before us here is we have to decide what we want to do with our rate stabilization reserves. Do we want to assess that to for services for capital? Because having money in a bank account doesn't make a lot of sense for a rainy day. Because we could be adding capital projects, we could be stabilizing our user rates, we can do a lot of things. So we need to decide what we want to do with that. And my only thing is I don't think we have all the information at our fingertips right now. Councillor Mulcahy. Oh,
there we go. Thank you. You just took the words out of my mouth, Chair. We don't have all the information, and I think we're blindly saying we have a windfall, but it's a perceived windfall. We did adjust our rates to accommodate while we knew our users using more. So, I think that we need to get all the information before we're prepared to make that decision of whether we use reserves or not, or how much reserves we use. I think that we are still seeing flexing in our users. We have a lot of people still working from home. There's still a lot of remote work, as you can see by our meeting today. And also we have multiple families living in the same unit. So there's a lot of change happening across the region. So I think we need all of the information, and I think that I will be happy to go to that finance meeting to follow this through. So that's where I sit. Thanks.
Excellent. Now, we don't have a motion we have a motion just for the overall, just the recommendations. I think there could be a motion that could come forward that would satisfy everyone here, that would get us more information and with a recommendation to do something. So let's see if our vice chair can get us there.
I think you wanted to see a report attached to the motion that Councillor Nicholson and I have moved.
That's what I would like to see. Just we're concentrating on what the plan is for the perceived windfall from the increase in reserve.
I just want to make sure that the motion is acceptable to clerks so that it's not adverse to the motion that we've currently moved.
So right now on the floor is the recommendation as approved. There hasn't been any sort of amendment yet. So that is, an amendment can be made as per committee, but right now we have the motion moved by Councillor Mulcahy, seconded by Councillor Cook, as presented right now on the floor.
Okay. So we haven't moved a motion to the effect that, okay, so can I just amend that motion what's the timing? Because I think ultimately we need this back soon because we're in a tight timeline. So if clerks could inform us of what the timing could be.
Yeah, so F&A, this is going to be presented at F&A next Tuesday. So,
Okay, so this wouldn't come back to us then. It would go to F&A.
Right.
Okay. Then in that case, I would just defer to Councillor Nicholson and see if I could add to it. I do have some questions regarding surplus and revenues, undedicated reserves that we currently have from 2018 to 2022. Before we go to the amendment that I believe Councillor Nicholson may want to make.
So just to be clear, do you have questions to finance now, or you're?
I do now.
Okay. So
do we have a surplus from in each of the years, 2018 to 2022?
Go ahead.
Through the chair. So there were surpluses from last term up to and including 2021. I don't have with me current 2022 projections. Sure. The reserve fund balances that I provided earlier to Councillor Nicholson's inquiry did include any funds that had been surplus that were contributed to those reserves in those years. So those balances were reflective of any in-year surpluses previous.
I appreciate that. Could we just repeat what the balance was of the surplus?
So, sorry, just for clarity, what I'm giving you is and I hope that's okay, is
Sure.
giving you the reserve fund balances, not the actual surplus amounts per year. So the reserve fund balance is approximately 200 million in the sewer stabilization reserve, and I believe the water one was just over 140 million that were contributed. If I could, I would just say that over the course, the capital plan that is in the report that you have before you today essentially fully commits those reserves to capital projects over the course, and some of the large plant projects and the large linear infrastructure that's forecasted is what is utilizing those funds over the next 9 years essentially, and more in particularly in the short-term focus. So we have particular pressure that you will see in 2024, 2025, and 2027. There's large plant projects, both rehabilitation as well as some of the expansion plants before Bill 23 came into the picture, still required user rate financing in order to advance. When I say that the reserve funds are committed over the short term for those projects, that was before the implications of Bill 23. Yeah. So Bill 23, if we see, which we anticipate to see, reductions in development charges as a result, those reserve funds are already committed before we see that financial pressure. Just for clarity, I wasn't sure I was clear before. Thank you.
No, and that's excellent. Through you, Chair. That's exactly the point that I'm trying to drive. We're dealing with, I don't even know what the act is called. It's grammatically incorrect, and my English isn't perfect either. But the point is that we're looking to facilitate development by way of a lot of those projects that I saw presented. So I just don't understand how, with the challenge of Bill 23, which is supposed to make things easier, how we're able to facilitate those projects unless we raise rates. And I'm not prepared to do, a double whammy here for, towards ratepayers and towards, the department that is supposed to be facilitating it. So my point is that we do have surpluses. We have dedicated reserves. From what I understand, they're dedicated already. Outside of that envelope of funding, the only alternative is to raise rates for the sake of advancing and facilitating development. That's not appropriate because we're getting the ability to take, development charges, which is growth pays for growth, and that was the mantra. I'm not going to bring this up here or in another format, but I think the province, in the report, if the amendment comes forward and the report is formulated, we need to spell out specifically how the impact will be, not just on the region, but on the ratepayers, to the effect of, facilitating development. Because if that's the choice, and I respectfully to my colleagues say, yeah, we all want projects, but if that project isn't a job-creating, economic development, revenue-generating project, and it's just targeted towards residential development that we're going to be impacted by because our development charges are going to be reduced, and our green space allocation reduced, then I think I've made the choice. At least from my standpoint, through you, Chair, I'm not willing to proceed with some of those projects if it means impacting the ratepayer to benefit a developer. If they're bringing jobs to the local economy by way of industry, and we're pre-servicing and we're going to get it in the back end as opposed to the front, then that's a different story. But I don't see this playing out very well for us or the ratepayer unless we put together a report that says this is what's going to happen to you. And I just draw our attention to one of the projects. I think, is it in Bowmanville that we've got a water project in Bowmanville on Liberty? Is that one in there, or am I missing?
Yes, through the chair, there's a storage reservoir and pumping station.
Yeah.
That's required to service the
Employment area or residential?
Well, it serviced the entire urban boundary, which is a combined residential and employment area.
And
You just can't split out a portion of just employment or residential. The whole system combined services the entire urban area.
So these are tough conversations, but if that report comes forward, I won't belabor this any further, but it needs to, so that we can then inform the province, because I know that other municipalities are going to be crying, and this is not a crying game. This is a reality. We're going to have to, today, we're being presented with the option of either raise rates by 10% or not have these projects. Is that something that I'm hearing or not?
So we're not talking about 10%.
No, yeah, we're not. We're not for 2023, as Nicole noted. It's a proposed combined user rate increase of 4.3%.
And what is it over the period of the term? It's going to be more than 10.
Through the chair, we don't know.
Yeah, that's so. Okay, I'll leave it be, but I really want us to have a different lens on the report that's going to come forward. It can't just be about us here as a service provider, but what the impacts are to the residents and potentially to the developer. Because if the province is going to be informed by this report, then we have to point and say, listen, if you want your homes to be built faster, you're going to have to give us the opportunity to either be funded or to relieve the average ratepayer, because they can't be paying for development.
I'd just like to add that I think we've lost sight that Commissioner Taylor mentioned that at Committee of the Whole on Wednesday, December 14th, there will be a report on the impacts from Bill 23.
Indeed, but I'm going to cede the floor, but I think the report needs to inform not just the impacts to us as an entity, but to the average person, because that's, I think, maybe a variable that I would hate to miss. So I cede the floor, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to that, Mr. Chair and Commissioner.
Excellent. Okay, we have Chair Henry next. Go ahead.
So I give Councillor Nicholson accolades for what you're trying to do. I think the challenge is how we get there. So may I suggest is that the committee moves this along. But I think staff have heard from you, Councillor Nicholson, today, and this is only my opinion, I'm not pressuring anybody, that you're looking for some form of relief. I think we need all of the information that we can get, and I'm wondering if you would be comfortable as moving that, and if it would be accepted as direction. The staff have that information prepared, if possible, for the next finance meeting, or no later than this coming back to the committee of the whole meeting for the budget. It's actually a question, looking to you if that would be something that you would be willing to do, and to move it and then create a form of direction to staff to have the information needed so that we can make that decision.
I'm trying to gauge what my concern is. Right now, if we simply send the motion as is with a direction to get more information, then this committee is going on record as endorsing a 4.3% increase. And I'm not comfortable making that endorsement. If the motion is that we're sending this through to the Finance Committee or to the committee whole further information, and we are seeking further information, that's a different equation. But the problem is the motion before us right now, it says we're going to pass this 4.3 increase. And we're going to recommend to our colleagues on Finance Administration that they consider our recommendation and make us either a similar recommendation or make amendments and go forward to Council. My concern, and I think we really are getting off a lot of in the confusions and the weeds here, all the projects that were passed by Council from 2018 through to 2022 were all fully funded in those budgets. Council approved the expenditures, and Council approved the source of revenues to support those expenditures. In each of those reports was a projection of how much revenue we would expect to get from user rates in each of those budget calendar years. In each of those years, we received more revenue from consumption than we had projected. So it wasn't a matter of a one-time windfall. In every one of those years, from 2018 to 2022, we ran a surplus.
So, Councillor
So
Nicholson,
my concern in response to Mr. Chairman, I don't want to miss
with a
it.
question to you. So, and obviously the answer is that you're not.
I'm not comfortable.
Comfortable. So, and here's my challenge. I look at the costs that have been escalating in all parts of delivery of every part of what the region does. But I'm worried about the potential cost increase when construction costs are up over 37% for certain products. That we've had the increase in cost of chemicals that have gone up over 200%. That I need more information to make my decision. And I'm not disagreeing, I'm not being argumentative and disagreeing with you. It's just for me to be able to make a decision. I would need all of the information that will be coming forward through a process, through the budget process, where we have the opportunities to ask those questions. So as you're uncomfortable with the direction that I was hoping that we could maybe move along, I'm uncomfortable with making a decision when I know. Then it's unfortunate because I'm probably the only one that knew that chemical costs went up 200% because I asked the question. There's other challenges we have. So I yield the floor back, Mr. Chair, and I was hoping to get some kind of consensus and move along, but I look forward to the rest of the debate, and I really appreciate the quality of the debate, and that's important. So thank you.
And just from the chair position, I think this is a great, healthy debate. I think we've almost exhausted it with the knowledge, with the information that we have at our fingertips. So what I'd love to see happen.
I have a suggestion for you that might meet everyone's needs.
Say that again, sorry.
Well, in following with the Chair Henry's concerns, Um, it may be useful if staff were given a direction to go back and revisit the projections of revenues for this water and sewer rate budget and determine what options we might have to secure a 2% reduction in the net impact. At least then that we'd all have an understanding of what options we have. Whereas I'm proposing one. If staff have a better option, I'm not going to say I'm the genius, that my way works. I'm happy to get all the information. But if the issue is all the information to defend the status quo, I'm uncomfortable. If it's to get all the information to give us options on whether we wish to retain the 4.3 or potentially reduce it by 2%, and whether that comes from reserve accounts, whether that comes from re-configuring financing, whether they take another hard look at the sources of development charge revenue. I'm just saying that I'm willing to give staff all the authority and all the direction in the world to look at options, as long as there's going to be some time on the floor for us to debate whether or not we go with 4.3 or 2%. So staff may want to comment on that if that's possible.
Fair enough. And just, I can tell by the look in the vice chair's eyes that he has a motion, I think, to move forward.
I think it was a mistake, sir.
So I'd like to hear from whoever wants to give me a motion first. So.
Yeah.
I'd like to try.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I would give you this, Mr. Chair, the staff report directly to F&A on the impact of using reserve funds to reduce the overall rate increase by 2%, with a report to indicate the impact of both the impact on both regional services and residents.
Yep. I'll second that by Councillor Nicholson.
Would the chair consider adding the phrase from reserve accounts or other financial options? So if they did find money in development charges, they could apply. That's at least one option to report on.
Well, I think
otherwise you're tying your hands in one option.
So I think I don't want to complicate this more than it's getting to be, and I can tell you through my preliminary conversations, because I'm involved with meeting with staff in the hallways, and that we are looking at every opportunity to find savings within this organization. The amount of work that they're doing, writing, and I'll speak to broadband because that's one that I'm directly involved in. The work to get additional funds from the other levels of government to make things work. So I think they're doing that now. So I would expect that staff would come to the budget process lifting every rock that is there within the organization of the regional world to find every dime, nickel, penny, quarter, dollar to help make the lives of our residents better. I don't think we need to do that. I think if we do this and we get that through to finance, then, and I'm Councillor Nicholson, I know you'll be online or in those meetings at finance as it relates to budget because you are a past regional chair of the finance committee. So I know your heart is in making things work. I would like this to stand the way it is and have staff do their work, and then I will expect to see you all at that next meeting. I hope that works.
Okay, so we have a motion. We have an amendment on the floor. So it's moved and seconded.
I wasn't sure if Councillor Nicholson did, but if he's uncomfortable with that wording, I can second it because I was looking at precisely what the chair was providing as being able to bring us both together in terms of our expectations.
And Councillor Nicholson, I think your friendly amendment was not acceptable to the mover or the seconder, I'm going to say. So why don't we see if we can move forward with this amendment and then go from there. Is that all right?
Could I just see one clarification? When the report comes back,
Yes.
it will also report on the status, the actual dollar amounts of the surpluses that were generated from 2018 to 2022 due to the change in consumption projections that were not included in those budget documents.
Let me just get a nod from staff. Yes.
That's fine. We don't have to shoot the horse today. It can be dealt with either through finance or at the council floor. So I wanted to raise the item. I think there is opportunities to do all that we need, protect us for the future, and not severely impact our users. So if staff can find a way forward, I'd be more than happy.
Okay. So I think we got to a place, and we'll find out from the vote if this is acceptable to all. Okay. So, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay. So that was for the amendment. So the amendment passes. Now on the main motion, as amended. And we have a mover and a seconder already. Okay. All in favor of the motion? Sure. Okay, so we have. Go ahead.
Yep, no, sir. I'm going to open the vote. And it'll be displayed afterwards.
Okay, so that's carried with the recorded vote. All right, so let's keep moving here, folks. I think we have one more report, right? Okay, so we have under other business, we do have some. Oh, we'll adopt the minutes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for clarifying that. All right, so we are under other business, and I know we have at least a couple motions here.
So thank you, Chair, for allowing me to do this. Remember, just as a pre-introduction to this, I am the former representative of Regional Council at AMO, and I'm no longer the representative of Council. Councillor McCaughey is now our representative. So she sits as a director on the regional and large city single-tier caucus. But I do still have a position on AMO's Waste Task Force as a volunteer or council member. I have two motions to introduce today, and I'm going to ask the clerk if they could put the administrative monetary penalties item up first for members of council. I've presented the copies to both the clerk, you, Chair, you should have one, and I sent it in, so it should be on the screen.
Okay, so we do need a motion to introduce. We need two-thirds majority.
So I'll move the motion to hear.
Okay, I saw Tito next. Well, how about to introduce?
It's a motion to add two items to the. Your mic isn't on, so.
With respect, you're asking this committee to allow for the introduction of two motions, which we've not seen. So we have no idea what they're on and whether we support those motions or not, and whether we support even the introduction. I know the rules are a little bit difficult, but when we get a motion that's ad hac at the end of a meeting, when we haven't had a chance to even read it, then you're asking us to allow it to be introduced. Last I checked, council doesn't operate by blind faith.
So, and again, I would completely agree with you, Councillor Nicholson. If we were asking you to vote on a motion you had never seen,
I'm just hopeful. I'll let it go ahead this time, but I would hope in the future, all of us to show respect for each other, that if we're going to bring motions up at the end of a meeting, to circulate to all members of the committee ahead of time so they can read it.
Sure.
Just as a matter of courtesy, I just want to, but for purposes of not being obstructive, I won't oppose the introduction.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we do need two-thirds majority for this to carry. All in favor of the introduction? Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much. All right, go ahead, Chair Henry.
So if I could have the clerk please put up the administrative penalties motion, please. There is no seconder for this. So I'll let you read it, and then I'll look forward to a seconder.
To officially have this on the floor, we do need a seconder. Councillor Crawford.
I just look for a nod from members of council if they've had a chance to read it. Just really quickly, Mr. Chair, under the Resource Productivity and Recovery Act that is being put forth as our Blue Box business change, there needs to be a tool that will help regions deal with this. This is something that came from the AMO Committee on Waste, and I'm simply looking for members of council or committee to endorse this so it can go to council.
Okay, are there any questions on this motion? Okay, seeing and hearing none, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.
Okay, if I could have the second one put up, please, and I'll look for a second.
Seconder for the second motion, just thank you, Councillor Makahi.
Chair, and I'll be quick because I know it's been a long morning. In Durham Region, we have two communities that pick up their own waste, Oshawa and Whitby, and the rest of the region is managed by contractors. But keeping those employees safe, whether they're municipal employees or contractors, is key. This is calling on the provincial government to amend the Highway Traffic Act, like the government of British Columbia already has, to provide the same protection to all roadside workers, including waste collection workers.
Okay, so I think we have two people that want to speak on this. We're going to start with the Vice Chair. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I
Mike, please. Is it on? Oh, sorry.
I appreciate the motion. I'd like to ask for a recorded vote and in future maybe even investigate the potential of having our frontline workers treated the same way as even fire and police in their essential delivery. They see a lot of stuff. They deal with a lot of stuff. And I think when you consider that and you know, that consideration be applied in the same light as someone that's at EMS level or fire or police, and people may ask, well, why is that? Oftentimes our crews are there cleaning up some major accidents and seeing things in the same light as some of our emergency services. So I know that they're not defined by the legislation or even by our consideration in the same respect. And I think hopefully as an addition to this in future, because I do think that Chair Henry's motion is one that starts the process of our outside workers, not just, you know, waste in this particular case or some of the other individuals noted, but our works department frontline workers are going to be hopefully considered in that same respect. And that's a conversation that I think needs to be had not just through the region, but throughout municipalities and with AMO, because I do think it's a long time coming.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Nicholson.
Questions?
There you go. Thanks.
Sorry, my only request is would the mover consider adding in the copy section to all the lower tier municipalities in Durham?
Chair, I'd be comfortable with that. And I think, Councillor Nicholson, if on both motions, if we would also include the Ontario Waste Management Association. I'm comfortable with that.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. I don't see any other questions or comments on this. We do have a seconder on this already. And recorded vote. Yep. And that was carried unanimously. All right. Is there any other business? Councillor Nicholson.
I raised this out with the chair during the break, but I'd just like to get on record in the meeting if we could have water or some other refreshment at all of our committee meetings. It's a health issue. And sometimes our meetings will go for 4 or 5 hours. I think it's appropriate that we have some water available, for not just for the council members, but also for our staff at all committee meetings. If you need a motion, I'm happy to move that. If it's a direction, I'm happy to give that as well.
I think we'll take that as direction, and
Thank-
we're going to fund that from Oshawa. Good. Okay. Thank you.
Like everything else.
All right. Okay. So I think that's the end of business for today. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Nicholson, Councillor McCahey, and you had something too. Just a second. Just hold on for 1 second.
I had just 3 quick items. You're going to get emails on Ontario Good Roads Conference, April 16th or 19th. If you want to attend, we have accommodations reserved. If not, that's fine. Reminder, May 5th, statutory duty of care training. And I did hear from many councillors they wanted to tour Duffins Creek Water Pollution Control Plant. We will arrange a tour when the weather's warmer. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and sorry that I didn't turn to you. Okay, so we'll schedule that for July. We have a mover and second on an adjournment. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much, folks.